horrible. The future looks bleak. Remember our childhood to get us through the week. We're getting re-enthused. Back to the past and the things we used. We all know that our pasts were great, escaping the things that today we hate. Getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused, getting re-enthused.
Hello and welcome to Re-enthused. Today we're looking at a device we've kind of taken a small look at before with another video when we looked at the rest of the family. But it's worth looking at on its own because it's a very important part, not just of console history, because it's not really a console, but of technology and entertainment history. So what we're looking at, as you can see from the video, is the Fujitsu Car Marty, or in fact rather the Fujitsu 10 Car Marty. Fujitsu 10 is basically Fujitsu's car stereo arm, effectively a car entertainment arm. And this device, the Car Marty, is really the device that turned them from being a car stereo arm to being a car entertainment arm. In fact, you could argue it turned all of the car stereo firms from being car stereo to being car entertainment. We'll get onto that in a second. So, we've talked about Fujitsu's entry into the console market before with the FM Towns Marty and then the 2. But we'll just lightly brush them now. So effectively, when Fujitsu decided they wanted to enter the console market because it was becoming a boom industry, they effectively took the guts of one of their FM Towns PCs and put it into a console shell. So technically it's it's the precursor to the original Xbox and really the current crop of Xbox and PlayStations, where the PC technology had been taken and put into a kind of a home unit. Now the issue with that was, whilst it was a startlingly powerful machine, it was really the first 32-bit console and the first kind of integrated CD console. It also meant it was incredibly expensive. The original Marty was more expensive than the 3DO when it eventually came out. The 3DO came out a little while afterwards, which was what kind of people regard as being the first real 32-bit system. But the Car Marty did predate it. Now, Fujitsu attempted to get it back by releasing the 2, which was effectively the exact same console with a darker grey casing, and they literally just dropped the price. But they didn't. They kind of lost confidence in it and decided not to carry on with that console. It's a shame because the sales had started picking up, and who knows, a slightly enhanced version of the Car Marty 3 may have actually been able to continue onwards. The Fujitsu Marty is already quite good at 3D. It was perhaps not as powerful as the PlayStation for that kind of dedicated market, but it potentially could have held its own, certainly against the Saturn. So, Fujitsu gave up on the console market, but they obviously had this technology. They created all of this custom stuff to make it work in a small shell. So they effectively handed it all off onto their car audio arm and said, well, what can you do something with this? It plays music and everything. Maybe it'd be useful for you. The car audio arm effectively took all of that information, all of that technology, and they put it into a slightly smaller system that would fit inside a car. But they retained all of the hardware inside, all of its ability, so it can still run all of the Marty software and quite a lot of the FM Towns software. And they added a couple of unique features, unique for the time. They added a GPS receiver. Now, this wasn't a huge thing back then. GPS was around, but GPS in cars wasn't a massive thing. You didn't have all of the big mapping solutions that you do now. So again, this was pretty advanced for a car audio arm to be shipping. And they also released a thing called the diversity unit, which is the little box you can see here. Now, if you can see well enough, you can probably spot that it's got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this effectively let you share what was on the car, what the Car Marty was displaying onto 4 separate screens. Again, a pretty advanced thing for the time. So you could play VCDs and put 2 screens in the back so the children could watch VCDs, or you could use the extended controller, because it came with this controller here, which is really just for controlling things, but it also had a normal Marty one, but this thing has a fairly long cable, so the idea was you could kind of put the pads in the back and the kids could play on their little screen in the back whilst, and this was the kind of the clever part of that, you could switch back over and make it run the GPS software. Not at the same time, although I imagine they would have come up with that solution if it had continued. So it made it immensely powerful. So the GPS side of it, the car navigation side of it, it's this thing here, which is actually a PCMCIA card, or a PC card as they end up being called. So you can actually load this up in a PC, although the software doesn't work. It also loads up in a normal normal Fujitsu Marty as well, a normal FM Towns Marty. And so you can actually run the navigation software on there. Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful bit of software for the time. But again, because of all this hardware, because of all this capability that it had, this thing effectively was around the £8,000 mark if we take it in today's prices. And that was massively expensive. In the days when they were mostly using tape decks, car audio was expensive enough, but £8,000 was beyond the pale, and they sold a few units, but it's really only the kind of the high-end buyers that were purchasing it. So again, it never left Japan, and this is actually a fairly rare unit to get hold of now, which again is a shame, because it's a genuinely pivotal piece of technology for car entertainment. Like the Towns, really, the Marty was a pivotal piece of console technology, but we don't really know it because it never left Japan, but it definitely impacted on the industry, and this certainly impacted the industry. A lot of other audio manufacturers really started looking into the entertainment side of things after this came out. So this legacy, whilst it wasn't in any way successful for Fujitsu, it was very successful for the car entertainment industry. So we'll take a little tour of the hardware itself. I'll put some videos on at the end. There's not much point going through the video apart from the navigation software, which I will look at in slightly more detail, because it's the same as the FM Towns Marty stuff, and we've done a lot of videos on those, and we'll do certainly a lot more because I love these systems. So this itself, as you can see, it's kind of a squat system, designed obviously to fit inside, well, actually fit on top of a car dashboard really. There's this panel at the bottom here which has got screw points, so you can actually screw it onto the dashboard to hold it in place. I mean, it could fit inside some cars, but I suspect not many of them. It's got a handy carrying handle for you to take it with you so nobody steals it, and a slot loading disc player on the front. This is the MVP-1 unit, and apparently these have a tendency to break down, but as let's be honest, all optical drive systems tend to, especially slot ones. There is also the MVP-10, which is even rarer and has a slightly better mechanism. Apparently, I don't know. I've never seen one, so I can't tell. There's a lot of myth around the Marty systems that you only really dispel once you own them. Yeah, same as the Towns Marty. It's got the 2 slots, one for pad, one for mouse, so it can use a lot of Towns software. Now, on the back, it's quite a weighty unit for its size, by the way. It's yeah, definitely weightier than you imagine. So if we just take it off the Velcro is still very strong. Age has not weakened it, and the screws are full now, but that's fine. So we take out the Velcro and we can see here the power. Yeah, it's a DC 12 volt power pack, which is kind of useful because unlike the Towns Martys, which obviously they only came out in Japan, and so you have to have a 100 volt, 120 volt at most power supply, and you can't really change it without rebuilding the power supply. These you can just find any center negative power unit and go ahead. Like this one I actually made myself, nice and simple. So for that it makes it easier, but unfortunately the other parts of it make it a lot harder. You can plug in a floppy disk, although you would almost certainly have to build this, because the extra cables for these are even rarer than anything else. You can plug in a FM Towns keyboard and a microphone, and here, this is the bugbear of this whole system. Now, because it was designed to go into a car, it didn't have like proper composite leads or anything like that, or a proper video output. So all of this stuff comes from here, and also all the stuff for all of these bits as well comes from here. Now, the cables for these are even rarer than the unit itself, but you can build your own. That's what we've done, and the pinout for this is on the Re-enthused website, by the way, if you want to build your own. It's relatively simple. You can get component and S-video out of this quite easily, so it's very doable system to get out. There are a few pain points. This whole thing here is actually metal and also ground, so you've got to make sure your pins do not touch the outside of this. They only ever go into the holes. That's an annoyance, and you will blow the fuse if you don't do that. So this part makes it a bit of a pain to use, but say with the benefit that you can get any old power supply and get it working really. So, oh god, like I say, it's quite heavy. Oh, that's the wrong way as well. That didn't help. So yeah, I guess we take a look at the GPS software first, and then I'll finish off with some of the Marty software playing on it. Although it'll look exactly the same as on the Marty, because it is largely the same system. Right, we've got the Car Marty installed. Now, as you can see, it's not on at the moment, and that's for a good reason. Now, if there's nothing in the Car Marty at all, then you turn it on, it comes up to the same, effectively the same Fujitsu Towns Marty screen that the Towns Marty comes up with. But, and this happens also on the Towns Marty, if you plug the PCMCIe card in and then you turn it on, it comes up with this. There you go. So it's capable of loading up software from the PCMCIe cards, which is interesting, certainly very interesting. Now, here we see, this is obviously, it's asking for the CD-ROM. We've got the CD-ROM in there, and I'll close it in a second. It's obviously not the same disc as I showed earlier. That was a bit of confusion. That's a DVD disc, which obviously none of the Martys can read because they very much predated DVDs. That was an experiment where we were basically trying to find out if the data structure used by the Car Marty was the same as the modern day software, because we think it's basically the same company. So I will now close the lid and it will load up the software. So this is very much obviously equivalent of the modern day experience, except that nowadays this would tend to be held on a flash device rather than on a CD. So again, this predated all that kind of stuff, so or at least ones that could be easily afforded. And there we go. So this is a map of Japan. I think it's only a limited part of Japan as well. I don't think it's the whole of Japan. Now I have plugged in the little control pad you saw earlier, which came with the Car Marty, and I think that acts more like a mouse than it does a joystick. And yeah, so there we go. So we can move around this whole area. Oh, can't do anything there. I think that I was trying to zoom out. Either it doesn't do that or it just doesn't work. So if we go in there, no. So if we bring up the menus, oh blimey, I did something. I think I've maybe turned on detail mode, possibly. So if we bring up the menus, obviously I can't read any of this. Some out there may be able to. We just randomly click on stuff. Oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Possibly points of interest, if I had to take a guess. Right, let's get out of there. Well, I've just hit the pause button, which I'm guessing is because, oh, we're a little racing car. Interesting. I'm pretty sure they didn't sell these to racing teams. Yeah, I'm assuming the pause button is literally a kind of a where am I button, which should fail because we can't plug the GPS system in. Well, it's actually doing nothing. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's fair enough. Understandable. Yeah, I mean, it looks just kind of like the modern day GPS systems, which it just kind of shows you how far ahead not just Fujitsu were, but the actual Towns hardware was. So the fact that it was used for this kind of thing and still as an entertainment system as well. No, I mean, it's a fascinating kind of look at how technology progressed, because again, the Car Marty was very much part of that bedrock of the car entertainment industry. It kind of showed the industry where to go next, amongst other devices, but certainly it was there at the beginning. So no, it's fascinating. Right, so we'll wrap this part up. I will say show some videos of gameplay after this. Now, it's just going to be stuff that we can show on any of the Martys, but obviously we mostly do game stuff at the moment, so it's kind of we just have to show something. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, then please hit like. If you really enjoyed it, then please hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, then please leave a comment and let us know why. Thanks very much.
automatic.